town you never heard of. Hey everybody, welcome to the Common Folk Podcast with Ben, Morgan, and Andy.
All right, as Birgit says, welcome to Common Folk.
You better believe it. Now, hold on.
Every time.
Now I'm ready.
Okay.
Now, let's get into it.
Okay. Ready to go?
Yes, I'm good now.
Okay. I'm sipping my Diet Coke today, guys.
All right.
You looked parched over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a
Go,
cardinal.
come on. Chug it. Chug
Oh,
it.
no.
Oh, with that shirt.
Yes.
We, Filth Ballers, we heard that maybe you lost about the corn eating contest. Can we talk about that?
That was
for a second?
that was such a joke. I got
Tell
ripped
me,
off.
you got rigged.
It was. I got ripped off by the umpires.
Okay.
So last year, entered into the corn eating contest, corn on the cob for the All-Star game of the
Right.
Corn Belt League. You know, we televise.
And you said you go up and down. You don't spin it.
Don't spin it.
side to side.
Side to side.
Well, that's
yeah.
right. I'm sorry.
Side
Yes.
to side.
Okay.
You know, just like a typewriter. You know,
Right.
boom,
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 boom, boom, boom,
okay.
and no wasted motion. And you got to get after it. And I did, and I won again. But this umpire kept saying, "Oh, you got a little bit of some kernels here. There's some kernels there." And after I appealed it twice, like in real time, someone else had already won. I mean, and they had a different umpire that just allowed anything to go.
Oh.
It was a travesty. It was a joke. The league should be ashamed of themselves.
It's a story of the game, man. It's a story of the game. I saw the video.
Yeah,
Guess who sent it to him?
Coach Hobbs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you did.
he
One
sent
of
it,
our
yeah.
other guests that was on sent it to Ben.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what it's all about, though. It's for fun. 4th of July, their all-star game showcasing the kids in the league.
So were you a good loser, or did you throw that corn cob down and stomp?
I stomped off. I was so mad. I left.
You're all mad and sassy?
Yeah.
Nice.
No,
So what do you got? What are you drinking there?
I got a Cardinal IPA from Nebraska Brewing Company.
Nebraska
So,
Brewing. Nice.
I think you got their Hefeweizen there.
I do. yeah.
EOS.
Is that German?
Yes.
I mean,
Bavarian
the name
style.
sounds like it.
Yeah. No, these are two of my favorite from these guys. And they got that multi 12-pack whatever, and these are two of the brands, two of the flavors.
I'm
Pretty good
disappointed that
Yeah.
seltzers are so good. They were out, so.
It's tough. When they unload that 12-pack of seltzers to a grocery store, whether it's Hy-Vee here in town or whatever, I mean, there's a limited window there. And I'm not kidding. It, flies off the shelf.
So I need to go ask Hy-Vee when their delivery time is?
Exactly.
Okay.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah.
IV.
Cover your bases.
We do have guests here.
We do have
Yeah,
a guest.
who do we got?
Do you guys think it's crazy that we're talking about corn and you're in Nebraska, or is that something from your area?
I mean, where we grew up in, corn was popular.
Okay. A corn eating contest.
I know, right?
that we had.
I mean, we usually have watermelon eating contests.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ooh, I think I could be good at that.
I don't know that I recall growing up if we ever had a corn eating one.
No, I've seen watermelon and hot dog.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you see? Speaking of that, did you see that hot dog
Oh,
eating
gross.
contest
That
recently?
was awesome.
That what's his name? Joey Chestnut.
Yeah.
And did you see he choked that guy out?
Yeah. It didn't even skip a beat and kept eating.
Did you guys see that?
I did not.
So the main hot dog eating contest. What is it? What's the company? That's the
Nathan's Hot
Nathan's.
Dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they do their thing every year,
Mhm.
and some protester came up that doesn't like meat, right? Wasn't that the thing?
Yeah, it was.
So
protesting
he's in
Smithfield.
the middle of pounding hot dogs, and this protester comes up and he chokes him out and throws him to the ground and
What?
keeps eating hot dogs.
during the competition.
And
I'm gonna have to
still,
look this up.
he
Yeah,
still
it's
wins.
awesome. Yeah, but
Oh, I didn't know that.
hang on, and he still won?
He still
oh
won
yeah,
it. Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
And he's like the 8-time,
I was gonna
9-time
say
defending
7,
champ,
yeah.
7-time
I think.
champ. And I'm kind of in sports betting. I get into that stuff. There was an over/under 73. People were betting on this like crazy, and most of the books went back and said, "All right, since there was a protest and he choked the guy out during the protest, we'll clean that one. We'll call it a wash."
That's
Wait, did
hilarious.
somebody throw the protester off of him?
Well, he choked the guy out, and then there was
Security came
behind
around.
him.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta watch it too. I did
Oh,
not hear that. It
it's
just makes
hilarious.
me sick thinking about those guys.
Oh, yeah.
choking
Like
their
that, I don't think I could eat a bunch of hot dogs.
I
Not
couldn't.
quickly.
No way.
Yeah.
The worst part would be the buns, and they do that weird thing where they dip them and they're all
water.
soggy and they're just
Yeah.
slamming them down.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's a texture issue.
Yeah, forget about it.
Yeah, no thanks.
Forget about it.
It'd be difficult.
Yeah. So here on the podcast today, we've got Travis and Chrissy Linden. Chrissy. I'm sorry.
No T.
Chrissy Linden.
If I had $1 for every time somebody got it wrong.
Is that normally where people
it's
go?
an issue, yeah.
Chrissy. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it Chrissy short for something, or is it just
Christine.
Chrissy?
Yeah.
Christine.
But there's no T in Chrissy. I know it's weird.
All right.
It's weird.
Yeah. That's something. Yeah. All right.
It's that Pocahontas education.
At its finest.
Are you American Indian or?
No.
Oh,
no.
okay. All right.
I'm from Pocahontas, Illinois.
Oh,
okay.
There we
It's
go.
like, where's the connection here?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So you guys
Got
are
it.
from Missouri, right? Or where you live currently?
Where we currently live is Missouri.
Yep.
Just south of Fort Leonard Wood and Roby. The where we grew up at is Greenville, Illinois, and Pocahontas, both in the same county and both use the same high school, but different elementary and junior high.
Okay.
Illinois. Okay. All right. So how this all came together? You guys are here today because of the Farm Focused website is how we got to know each other.
Yep.
You guys have a farm brand. We'll get into that a little bit. But how we came to know about each other was working with the Millennial Farmer, right?
Correct. Yep. Yeah, Zach, after we'd talked to him, we'd kind of touch base. He'd given us a shout out on his YouTube channel a while ago. And then, I'd say, hey, how do you do your apparel? Because we always have people asking for stuff. But at the time, Chrissy had a Cricut machine, so we were making literally right there at the house. Very time-consuming process. Wasn't really worth the effort, but it was pretty cool. And so we kind of wanted to get away from that. And you guys definitely gave us an option to get out of it, doing it at our house and let you guys do it at your house.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think Zach had wore one of your shirts or something, was it? Or were you
Yeah.
on his video? Or
No, he wore one of our shirts.
Okay.
We'd send him a sweatshirt.
Gotcha.
Like I said, we've been talking back and forth on email, and then I said, hey, I'm going to send you a shirt. And then he said he was going to wear it on one of his videos, and he gave us a shout out for it. And I said, well, that'd be cool, help us get started on YouTube at least.
Yep. He's great dude. He's big military first responder supporter. Yeah. So I'm sure that was right up his alley.
Yeah, and the grain bin, all the grain bin rescue stuff.
Fundraiser stuff.
Yeah, I can't believe how much they've done with that. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's been awesome. So why don't you guys just jump in a little bit? Kind of like you said, you're from Illinois, but obviously, as we've touched on a little bit, involved in the military, decide you want to get into agriculture. How does this all come together?
So for me, growing up, working on row crop farms, but obviously none of our families own any, it kind of made it to where, I seen all the tractors going and I just really enjoyed that. And I knew I was going to join the Army. Grandpa had been telling me stories about his Army career my whole childhood, and I was like, I want to do that too. And so been doing that for 16 years, and about 5 years ago, we had decided to start our own farm. And wasn't going to be in Illinois just because of costs. It was just, there wasn't really an easy way. It'd be a lot more difficult because we'd have way less land, and then there's more equipment costs involved with row crops.
Sure.
And so we had 10 acres in Missouri already, and we were like, hey, well, let's try livestock. We wanted cattle, didn't have enough land, and neighbors had kind of given us some insight about sheep, and we were like, we could try that. And we kind of bought 3, and 5 years later, now we're around 150,
140.
Yeah.
Wow.
We'd normally have the right number, but they decided to lamb again 6 months later.
Really?
Ooh.
Yeah, so they just lambed in December and had decided to lamb again and got pregnant and all on their own, which is usually, it's kind of unusual. They generally require a hormone to get them to go back into cycle that quick and breed back. So I don't know if we've just got everything going really well for them and they're really loving life and it went well for them that matter. Or
So you don't know how many? I didn't know it was called lambed.
Well,
so that means
that's
pregnant.
the babies.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
a sheep
Okay.
is
So you don't
adult,
know.
and then lambs are the babies. So whether ram lamb or a ewe lamb, ewes are females, rams obviously are males.
Okay.
And so when they lamb until they're about a year old, so when a lamb is born until about a year old, it's a lamb, and that's the expensive meat that you get at the store. And then mutton is the cheap stuff.
Delicious.
You don't want the mutton.
Mutton. What's mutton?
It's anything over a year old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't taste as good?
It changed it to me. It's more gamey tasting.
It is.
So
Okay.
that's the designation is, no matter what the sex is, if they're over a year old, they call them mutton or no? Mm-hmm. Okay.
I would assume so for as long as meat purposes, or as far as meat purposes are concerned. Yeah. The a ram is still the male and a ewe is still the
Yep.
female, like we said
Yep.
earlier. But as far as meat goes, I don't think there's any distinction between the two.
Sure.
That's what I was going to say. So female, male doesn't matter. Meat.
Meat
Okay.
wise, it's
Meat-wise.
the same kind of deal.
Oh.
So mutton busting, I've always imagined that as like that was the young ones, but apparently it's
No.
not.
We actually do mutton busting at our local fair.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So-
We just do that with the adults.
Okay.
Yeah.
The adults ride?
Yeah.
No,
sheep?
No.
the adult. We typically don't take a ram.
I got
We
you.
use the female, the ewes.
Okay, I was
we
like,
typically
wait.
don't take a
Yeah.
ram though because they are a little more aggressive.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Our rams are
Okay.
pretty docile, but the chances, because it's not us dealing with them, it's kids getting on to ride them.
Sure.
Yes.
We don't want to take that chance that they get off. And
Yep.
then,
Well,
a
we
ram
helped
decides
out with
to.
the fair and sponsored mutton busting. I just didn't know where that name came from, to be
At
honest with you.
our one of our local county fairs
Yeah.
that we've been involved in for a number of years,
Yeah.
we did the sponsorship. We were like the brand behind the mutton busting or whatever.
Kids
So we
got
did a
the
bunch of shirts for the kids
whatever.
and stuff.
It was fun.
But it's become a really big fair. I mean, I think there was like over 100 contestants.
and you have to stand in line for hours.
Oh,
yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
the same thing? Okay, that you guys have
Yeah.
going on?
Well, we brought it. Was it 2 years ago? 2 years ago, we brought it for the first time to our little county fair,
Uh-huh.
and they
Not
had.
the county.
I'm sorry, the little township. It's a township.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
It's really small.
Get it right. Okay.
Yes. And we had people that traveled 2 hours just to come do it,
That's awesome.
and yeah, it was a lot of people.
It's fun. I mean, with the fair that we were involved in, like that was definitely the highlight. Like people couldn't wait for that.
Oh, I loved watching it.
I said, so probably the bigger, claim to fame, not claim to fame, but the bigger event is
The greased-
definitely the greased pig. But
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
we, so they'll put greased pigs in there, and each age group gets to, chase one down and get it. Well, whoever gets it gets to keep it, or they can auction it off. Well, we decided at the time, one of the board members had asked if we'd be interested in sponsoring mutton busting, and so we're like, yeah, we could do that. And we didn't think it would be a big deal. We didn't think people were going to drive from 2 hours away. I mean, Roby's a really tiny community. Like, there's 60 people. So, I mean, and like when you said Plattsmouth.
Plattsmouth. Yep.
Yeah. When you said that was small, and it's like, 7,000 people.
Oh yeah, there's
That's a metropolis.
Yeah, it's pushing 7. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I saw that, I was like, that's a lot bigger than I thought. But yeah, it's apparently a pretty big event, and we weren't prepared for it. Well, we cut the registration off at, I think, 20 per age group. There's only 2 age groups, but so 40 people total. And it kind of
We
went.
didn't have enough sheep. They would have.
Sure.
We
Yeah.
didn't have enough stuff
Yep.
there for that amount of
Oh,
people to
okay.
be riding.
Yeah.
No, it's, especially with a hot like that, we don't want to run them
Yeah.
hard for
For sure.
hours.
Yep.
But
Yep.
it was a big event, and I couldn't believe what the turnout was. But
That's
yeah,
fun.
It's,
So when's it happening next? Is that coming up?
yeah, it's the second weekend in September in
Okay.
Roby, Missouri.
And is that considered the fair for the area or?
No, it's actually
It's just
Roby
an event.
Days.
Okay.
No,
Oh, yeah,
it's
okay.
Roby
Nice.
Fair.
Or Roby Fair, I'm sorry.
That's our neighbor gave it that name.
Yeah.
Well,
Better
He
get
made
the
up
name
his
right.
own. He made up his own name for it. It's actually Roby Fair.
yeah, they have a parade that morning, and then a lot of events, a lot of local vendors that'll come out. A lot of fun for the kids, rides, and they have a petting zoo. They had a petting zoo last year, anyways. I assume they have it every year. It seems like they do.
That's cool. So it's your guys' animals that get used in the thing, right?
In the mutton busting, yeah.
Yep.
As far as the petting zoo, they have, I don't know who it is, but they have camels. What was the other thing they had?
Goats.
Yeah,
Probably, most likely.
was it a llama?
Have
Goats,
goats.
alpacas,
Okay.
llamas, miniature horses.
Cool.
It's just a weird thing because in where we're at in Roby, Missouri, everybody raises cattle. Horses are kind of popular, but everybody raises cattle, and that's the farm. And and obviously we all cut hay. So when we were like, we're gonna do sheep, we kind of got to look like,
I bet.
you're raising what now?
Yeah, people were like, "What the heck is this guy doing?"
Yeah.
So are those the only animals like you raise, or on the farm? Do you have cats, dogs? Like
We have
anything
2
else?
horses,
You do?
4
Okay.
dogs, and then our kids have 25 chickens.
Okay,
Awesome.
gotcha.
So do you guys use the horses to move the sheep then, or?
No, they are pleasure horses.
Okay.
Do you have dogs that run them? Or?
Well, yes, kind of.
Yeah.
So Spirit is in training. The video we posted today is actually the first time she's been off leash, able to push the sheep. And even
Cool.
then, it wasn't completely off leash because we had the side-by-sides that would run beside the sheep to help funnel them, to just kind of hone her abilities. But yeah, so she helps a lot. And then George, we have a Great Pyrenees, he protects them. So a lot of people ask us, well, why doesn't George do that? And he's like, oh, George doesn't like to see the sheep run. If he sees the sheep running, he runs out there because he feels like something's wrong. So
Something that I think is so interesting, you hear about like sheep dogs, and even like without trying to drop names and stuff, you look at someone like Tim Kennedy, you guys know who that is, and he has the sheepdog response, where he's training folks to be like, to be able to take care of people, to be able to protect and so on and so forth.
Oh yeah.
But you see these sheepdogs, and you mentioned that, that dog is protecting, but also you see them running the is it called a herd? They're running
a flock, I guess, technically.
a flock. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're running the flock around, they're in charge of them or whatever, but they're also their protector. Like, is that how that works?
No, this is very different. So
Okay.
George is the protector. He is a Great Pyrenees.
Okay.
Spirit is a not black lab.
Border collie,
yeah.
blackmouth cur.
Border collie.
Yeah, border collie and blackmouth cur mix.
Okay.
And I got her from a farm in Iowa. I went and bought a set of bale spears for the skid steer, and she kind of came with them.
Oh,
So I
they're like,
What
take
happened?
this dog, or
I don't know if I
Last
paid
one.
$300 for the dog or if I paid $300 for the forks, but
Hey.
somehow I ended up with both. But we saw her mom. Her mom was amazing. Like, this guy would just point at whatever cow he wanted, and that dog would cut that cow off and get it
Jeez.
separated and kind of get it in the corner he wanted.
Those dogs are brilliant, especially border collies.
Yeah.
Like, they got a lot going on. So to add to the fun, would it take a mutton plus to allow the adults to do that mutton busting? I got to get back to that.
That would be fun.
I know. I kind of got excited for
think I
2
could- yeah.
seconds when you
Yeah.
said that, because I was
Adults.
like, I think I could do that.
Why do kids get to have all the fun at the fair?
I
this is-
think if you brought some real healthy rams,
There
I
we
think
go.
I think you could get some adults some fun, but I don't think. I
All
think
right.
those rams would be more difficent to deal with, and I don't think the adults would enjoy
could
it.
You know what you're
probably do
signing up
calf
for.
busting. I mean, they could probably bring in
Yeah.
a calf.
That would be all right, yeah.
It doesn't have the same ring though.
Yeah.
You see
No.
those kids? Could you
Mutton-
imagine an
mutton.
adult? Have you seen the videos of those kids, like where
Yeah.
they're as crimped down
Oh, yeah.
as tight as they can go, and they might even spin around on the underside.
Oh,
they're
yeah,
just
they're
holding
holding
on.
on.
Oh, yeah.
Not let go.
We had a little girl that we had to stop the sheep because she was still
Just
hanging
kept
on.
going.
One of my preschoolers last year, I was a preschool teacher last year, and she was telling me all about her brother, how he got hurt. And she said, I'm not getting on that sheep this year, Miss Linden. You can't make me. She said, I'm not going to make you.
She didn't like it, huh?
Yeah. It's one of those things that some of the kids are really good at it, and others are like they fall off before the gates ever open.
I can see Ozzy doing that, Andy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Has
and I
he not
think-
done that yet? He's
No, we
6.
haven't-
He's like
we have not.
the best age.
Right. And Kimber would, too. Like, she would really get into that.
She's kind of a
How much do your kids
badass.
weigh?
Not very much.
Less than 45 pounds? Sign them up.
Yeah.
Be in
She
Roby
is,
September
yeah.
10th.
They're little.
Okay. All right. Let's do it.
Built like Andy.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Everyone's like, "Are you losing weight?" No, I'm always like that. So it sounds like this endeavor, though, getting into raising sheep, has really worked out for you guys.
It's going way better than we ever expected. And honestly, I think what has been the biggest tribute is the rotational grazing. We built our paddocks for the 350 head that we intend to grow to and maintain, and from there we will just whatever lambs are born. If we're replacing some, fine, but for the most part, all the lambs that get sold every year. And so we have they're about 4.5 to 5 acre paddocks, and we have 10 of them, and then we have 2 smaller lambing paddocks, and then the barnyard. Well, when they start in paddock 1, they don't come back for 2 months. It's 60 days before they return back to paddock 1. So whatever parasites that they have or may have had go away.
They'll die
In
off
the-
before they ever come back.
And it allows the ground to recoup, too, for the grass to grow
Yep.
back up, all
Yeah.
that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
it's a very healthy way to go about it.
It is, and we've actually been fortunate, like where some of our neighbors have to feed hay during a drought. We haven't had to do that yet. We had one year we went 3 months, so basically all summer, no rain. Cut hay, and it just didn't rain until late August or early September. and they were feeding hay, and we didn't have to because we were able to keep them moving. And obviously the grass isn't as nutritious when it's crunchy, but it still gave them, it's no less than the hay would be.
Right. And we were talking about this beforehand, where it's a problem here in Nebraska, and I would assume Illinois and everywhere else, where these guys get into raising cattle, and then they buy more cattle or end up with more cattle, more head than the ground can take care of, especially in a year of a drought. Oh, yeah. So you hear of people scrambling, buying hay from Canada or whatever. And if you just rotate your pastures and don't get in over your head, don't buy too many head of cattle, basically. Yeah. But then you don't make as much money. Like, sure. I get it. I get the rub. And in a good year, or if you can have a little bit of irrigation to help out, you can get by. But that's just not the case for a lot of these cattlemen nowadays.
Yeah. Well, and you'll see a lot of people have went to like a feedlot standard.
Right.
And there's, the animals are still getting the nutrition they need, but boy, it makes it prevalent for parasites.
Mm-hmm.
And I know cattle are a lot more resistant to it than sheep. Sheep, just to kind of make the numbers make sense. So they get rotated off of our paddocks every 5 days.
Okay, hold on. Slow down. Paddocks.
Paddocks are like the pastures, so the 5-acre pastures.
Layman's terms.
It's like the name of the area they're in.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
So,
and it's
like
gated off. It's fenced off. They can't go in different areas.
Yeah, it's just a smaller pasture.
And
it's
how do you decide who's in what pasture?
Well, so they're all in the same pasture together. All the sheep that we have all stay in the same pasture, and they stay there.
We do rotate the horses ahead of them, though.
Yeah.
So the horses are in the paddock ahead of them, and the sheep are in the paddock right behind them.
Gotcha.
So then we'll move the horses, and then we'll move the sheep in right behind them, and there'll be gates that separate them. And
it's set up so. I'll go through the basics of it to make a little more sense. As far as every 5 days they have to leave the paddock they're on, and the reason being is because the parasites. So if they have, let's say, sheep number 1 has 10 parasites that are attached to its intestines. Well, that sheep, every time it defecates, in their manure is going to be larvae from that parasite. So whether it's a barber pole worm or whatever kind of parasite it is, they are defecated out, and then 6 days after that manure hits the ground, they hatch, and then they crawl up the blades of grass, and they're in the lower 4 inches of the blades of grass or the vegetation in general.
Oh.
So if you let the animals eat down to that 4 inches, they're inevitably going to ingest more parasites. So
pass it along to someone else in the flock.
Yeah.
Like it might just get on them or something, and they
come
transport it.
Yeah, they have to eat it.
But you vaccinate for stuff, or no?
No.
Oh.
So the reason rotational grazing has been such a game changer for us, we have not dewormed. We started rotational grazing. This will be the third year.
Third year.
This will be the 3rd year that we have rotationally grazed and not had to deworm.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Our animals, the only time we deworm, and it's usually just the new rams that we get, because we're keeping all of our offspring, all of our females. We can't keep our rams, so we just get new rams every year so we can grow our flock. And sometimes the rams that we bring in, if they're confined in a feedlot or something like that, or wherever they happen to be growing at, when they get to pasture, they eat down far and they start getting parasites. And since they haven't been introduced to them, sometimes it gets the best of them pretty quick. But if they have good genetics, then usually they'll be able to kick it kind of on their own. If they can't, then we step in and we'll deworm them. And so last year we had to deworm 2 of the rams that we got. And so unfortunately those characteristics were passed down in whatever ewe lambs that he had, which we have we have an Excel spreadsheet that breaks it down to so we know who the dad was, who if they have problems like they're number 1 on our list, we'll easily pull we'll highlight different colors based on things that we don't like. And if it gets bad enough, that color will turn from, say, yellow or orange to red. Red means that
We're
next
culling.
trip,
they need to go.
Next trip to the sale barn, they're in that trailer too.
Gotcha. Huh.
And
This is
That's
interesting.
super interesting. Yeah.
So the parasites are what drives the rotation, because those 5-acre paddocks have plenty of grass, plenty of vegetation left for them to eat. But if we leave them there longer, those 10, like I said, that sheep 1 might have, will quickly turn into, say, 100 or 1,000 that are on board in their intestines.
And is all they eat is the grass?
Mm-hmm.
You don't feed them anything else?
The only time they get grain is in the wintertime when they're confined to the barn.
Yeah.
We'll let them out once a day to the feedlot, put out some grain, they'll eat it, and then they get pushed back in.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
and-
it's just
Yeah, not only is it more healthy for your guys' flock, right?
There you go.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm learning here.
I know. I thought it was
The
a herd.
lingo.
I like it. Okay.
But cattle ranchers, and that's the part of the world I grew up in,
Yeah.
and we raise cattle. But those guys that get by with creep feeders, supplemental feeding, grain
Yes.
during the year, they'll put that out in the middle of the pasture, and it just scorches the ground too.
Mm-hmm.
So it really takes a toll on your pasture land, on your ground, and then it also, opens the door for parasites and other things to really take a toll on your herd. So
Yep.
if you can work around it like what you got going on here with this rotation, that's really the way you want to go.
Yeah. Well, and we've gotten, so we use our drone for YouTube videos, and there's times that you can clearly see like the paddock that they were just in is not bad looking, but you can see it's been diminished compared to the others that they're just in, or even, say that one they've been in 10 days ago is almost back to the one before that. Like they grow back pretty rapidly when they're left alone. So like within a month, you won't even be able to tell that they were there.
Huh.
It comes back pretty quick, and then since it doesn't have pressure on it right away, it just sets, and the root systems of that grass get deeper. It's amazing. The ground we bought, so we had 10 acres. We bought 20 more, and then we bought 47 more. So we have a total of 77.
Okay.
21 acres of that is our hayfield. The other 50 acres and some change from the house and the shop buildings and stuff like that's taken away. All of that is pasture. And when you look at the quality of the grasses that are there compared to when we bought it, it has changed dramatically. And that's with we've added lime, but that was farm wide. But the pastures have not received any fertilizer, and they look better than our hayfields that that had received turkey litter and everything. These grow thicker. And
is the paddocks that the animals are on, do you guys ever have to plant that, or
No.
what's growing in there? Is that just native grasses, or?
So when we bought the place, it was mostly weeds, very little briars and stuff like that, and then some fescue grass. Fescue is the primary grasses.
Fescue and clover.
Yeah, fescue and timothy, I guess, would be the primary grasses that we grow, and some red top.
So basically, the land has adapted and is growing this stuff. You haven't.
It is making it to where there's spots where when you try to walk through it, it trips you. Like the grass has gotten that thick in areas, especially where the sheep hang out. Their manure, like cattle, right? That obviously it makes that grass go really well, right?
Yeah.
Well,
it's a natural fertilizer.
Oh yeah, the sheep, their manure has.
And they're pelleted, so they disperse theirs a lot more evenly.
Yeah.
It's like rabbit turds. Or
I was
something?
just going to say
It's
that.
more- yeah,
Is
it's
it? But
a lot
thicker.
pelleted.
Okay. Okay.
Well, their manure content has a higher pH level. It has a higher nitrogen content. It's more fertile, I guess you could call, in comparison to cow manure. And just seeing, like I said, where they hang out, like they hang out at the gates a lot because they know that, hey, around day 5, they start hanging out closer to the gates.
They're like, I want to go.
They got a
Peace.
calendar, and they know what's going on. They're like, they're looking at their hoof, their wrist, and say, hey, it's about that time. Been about 5 days, hasn't it? Yeah.
That's
super
funny.
interesting, man.
So then you guys have kids, and do they help on the farm?
They do. Whenever it's time to rotate, they'll help with getting the gates or dumping the waters because we rotate the waters with them.
Okay.
We don't. You have to explain the water system a little better, but
Yeah. It's just lines.
yeah, there's
Okay.
water lines with the hydrants out there, and there's enough to reach 4 paddocks at a time. So we just dump the trough, and then we just have an automatic water set up on it. So we just rotate that with them when they move,
Gotcha.
and then just hook it up to whatever hydrant's nearest to the next paddock.
Okay.
And their mineral.
Oh, and their mineral. We move that too.
Now, how old are the kids?
Our daughter will be 11, and then our son is 9.
Okay.
Her daughter literally turns 11 in
Next
less than a month.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
We got one that age.
Yep.
It's,
That's good. They enjoy it, or there's days they do and don't.
So when we get, like right now, we have some bottle lambs.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, I would like that.
It sounds fun. And it's sometimes
For like
is.
a second, right? Is that what you're saying?
It's fun now that we have the buckets.
Yeah. So we have buckets that have nipples.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Andy, you know what they're talking about.
I'm a bucket calf kid.
Yeah.
That's a good responsibility early on to learn.
Yeah. And so they'll help out. And what we do is say, hey, if you help raise this bottle or this bottle baby, you can keep it. It'll be yours. And we only
Okay.
so like as far as naming animals, the kids will name them. Sometimes they name the males too, but they also understand that the males are not staying. Yeah. They're well aware of,
They're going.
Jimmy or Bobby or whatever they name it is not staying.
Right.
And so when they help, they'll give them a name usually. Well, the ewe lambs that they keep, we let them keep them, and then they can grow their own flock. So when they get old enough, if they choose, they can easily take that flock that they have that is embedded with ours, and they can pull it. And if they start their own farm or want to add to ours and add more land, they can do that too.
I like that.
Or if they just wanted to keep, 4 of those ewes every year and sell their offspring, then they have a little bit of money every year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we were always encouraged, when naming our bucket calves or pets like that, a name like Dinner or Well Done, that might be the way.
They do that with
That's
their
so
chickens.
bad.
We had one named Butterball, Nugget.
There we go.
What was the other one?
Barbecue.
Barbecue.
You learn those type of things early on as a kid when you grow up on a farm.
I guess.
And they've seen it. They've seen us harvest deer. So their understanding of, okay, I kind of understand a little more where our food comes from. Whereas, some kids are like, "Whoa, that cow? That's where we get hamburger."
That grocery store.
I remember our local movie theater came out with re-released Bambi. Disney still does that. They'll re-release a movie, and they re-released it in Lynch. And I was really little, but we watched that. Oh my God, he's so cute and all this. And hunters are bad. Shot Bambi's mom. And then the upcoming weekend, my dad and uncle went deer hunting.
Oh, they got a Bambi?
No, they 2 big old bucks, but still, I go out in their front yard and they're swinging in the tree. Pretty brutal.
There goes that movie.
Yeah, so much for that.
Yeah.
Well,
So
that's
your
funny.
guys' animals, are they primarily for meat? Is that what they're
Yes.
raised for?
They're hair sheep, so they don't have wool. They shed on their own, so we don't have to shear or anything like that.
They're a lot like dogs.
Yeah.
In the aspect that in the spring they shed really heavy. They'll rub against our fences, so our fences turn white.
Mm-hmm.
And then we don't like you guys use barbed wire, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We use woven wire, so the lambs can't escape.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll rub against that pretty heavy, and they'll get all their excess fur off.
Does any of that stay local for you guys as far as the meat goes?
Yeah, there's people that are actually local that come to our farm and they'll buy them.
Okay.
And they'll harvest them right there. We have no problem with that. They bring their own tools. We'll use the skid steer or the tractor to lift the animal up so it can hang for them. But whatever doesn't sell from our farm, so like this last year we had, 70-something ram lambs that were born. And of the 70-something, 27, I think, went to the sale barn. The rest all sold locally right there from the farm.
See, you could do that. You did a pig.
Yeah, we need to. Yeah.
Now you could do a lamb.
It's difficult.
When
Is
they
it?
when they go to what you mentioned, the sale barn. So does that just end up like anywhere in the country?
Yeah, at the sale barn, they could go to another farm and be breeding stock for somebody, or they could be on somebody's dinner plate.
Okay.
Their destiny obviously can kind of be whatever.
Yeah. From a meat and a cut standpoint, what I have always thought was interesting is we go to the grocery store, we've had lamb chops. Right? That's always what you hear about, right? Mm-hmm. And they're phenomenal. Like honestly, that's probably one of my favorite pieces of meat. I got a buddy that makes them. I'm not a pellet grill guy. He is, and he takes those lamb chops and he does them on his pellet grill, and they're medium rare at best. Got that Italian seasoning on them, whatever. They're phenomenal. They call them popsicles or something like that.
Lamb pops.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
They got it.
But what's been interesting to me is that I feel like every time I'm at the grocery store, that's the only cut that I see from that animal. So what else is it getting used for?
It depends on people. People use it for stew. They'll use the stew meat for stews. They can grind it up, just kind of like you would with
just like a ground beef or whatever.
Grind it up and use it for
Euro
like
meat.
Euros.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I thought that's what
Yeah.
I was thinking
That
of.
makes sense. Yeah.
That's a process.
I thought it
I
was-
did that really good. That's a process.
So it's
though.
ground and then you just kind of form it.
Well, and then you make a loaf and you
Yep.
slow roast it. And
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's really good though.
So is there things like what I've always wondered, is there like
There's leg of lamb. There's a lot of
leg, like steaks, or what, or like how does, or like a roast, or I guess that would be a leg.
There are
or-
steaks. I don't know what the steaks are technically called, but I guess
Yeah.
lamb steak or something of
Yeah.
that nature. But they come off of, from my understanding anyway, I think they come off of like the backstrap, kind of like deer.
Well, and I feel like mutton chop is a term too. Is that a thing?
It is, but that's the adults,
The older animal.
and you'll see. So like, a lamb sells for a lot of money per pound live weight. So like I think the spring highest we saw was like $4.70 a pound. It was up there, and obviously that transfers into the store though, because when you go to buy lamb chops or any lamb meat in general, the cheapest lamb meat you're buying is probably the Euro meat, or I guess the stew meat, but it's roughly about $10 to $12 a pound for the cheapest meats, and then they only go up from there. I think some of the lamb chops, some of them go up to $25 a pound.
Yeah, aren't they pricey?
They're very pricey.
Oh, they are. Yeah, I mean the stuff that we've bought at the grocery store is pricey. Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean it's so good, and I've always felt like, I mean, we're always grilling and smoking and doing all kinds of crazy things, and I've always felt like, man, I want to learn more about this animal. There has to be other things that hasn't been discovered yet for the barbecue. Because you run into things all the time on beef where like the tri-tip's a big thing right now,
Right.
or there's this other weird steak that just came out. Like there's all these kind of crazy things people keep getting into.
Yeah, and different brisket cuts, and
Yeah.
that's kind of what you're getting at there.
And I've always felt like, man, that animal is one in my mind that hasn't been explored yet. That there's a bunch of things probably going on there that can hit the scene.
I'm sure there's the strangest ones are, or not strangest, most different. So like when we kill deer and stuff like that, we skin them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, some of our customers, the skin stays on and they burn the skin off, and obviously that burns the hair off too. We've had some customers that they come out, hey, we're going to buy one, but can we burn the skin off of it? They're like, I mean, you can, but wouldn't it be easier to skin it? They're like, oh no, we got. This is just how we do it for religious reasons. And I said, okay. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought the religious thing for a second, but I didn't know.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Okay.
And I walked out there, and, I mean, it was a pretty good little flame because, remember, when this happened, this was closer to winter, so they were still pretty fluffy. Not woolly, but, thick hair. And the pretty big flame up there at the front of the tractor, and I was a little worried.
We should ask them though, because they'll use every part.
Yeah,
of
that would
the
be
animal,
interesting.
every single part of it.
Yeah.
They don't leave anything behind.
Yeah.
They use the intestines.
Sure.
They completely empty out the intestines, take them with them, everything.
Is it not typical to skin them, or is that?
I think for Muslim or maybe Jewish too, I don't think they skin them.
Okay.
I think those are the one.
Okay.
Well, Muslim for sure are burning them off, but I don't know of anybody that's Jewish that's come, or they haven't, disclosed that they were Jewish.
Yeah.
And some people do it that way. Some people they'll skin it. Other people quarter it out before they leave.
Sure. Yep.
Just kind of whatever's convenient for them to transport it, I guess. But the lamb pops that Sean did, that was probably the coolest one that or most tasty one that we'd seen.
Yeah. Those are definitely the tastiest ones I've had.
Same kind of idea was what I was talking about earlier.
The way that you described it.
Yeah.
See, they were fine. It's a little too red for me.
You weren't big. Well, and it depends on how you cook it. I don't know how your friend cooked them, but like my buddy, he definitely keeps them fairly rare.
Yeah.
And I like it that way.
rare
He smoked
for me.
these. He made them on a smoker, yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Low and slow.
yeah, and I mean, like,
See, I would like to
all
try
night?
that.
right?
No,
cook
not
'em for a
those
while.
ones.
No?
No, you're thinking of the
It
the ribs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, he smoked them, but lamb itself is, I'd describe it as like the dark meat of turkey. It's a greasier meat, or almost like waterfowl.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a greasier meat, and I think it only gets amplified if they get fed grain. Specifically, if they're fed grain like majority of their life, if they're getting it during the winter like we're doing or like
Yeah.
other farms do, I don't think it's so bad. But when they get fed grain a lot, that really makes them not. I don't think they taste very good. Like if we eat a lamb, or even mutton that towards the end of winter that was fed grain for the last 3 months, I don't think it tastes very good at all.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever had
I
lamb?
love grease.
Oh, you like grease?
I like bacon grease, but
Have you ever had lamb though, Annie?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I mean, you eat
Ashley's half
about
Greek.
anything.
Ashley's half Greek.
She
oh,
is?
so she
yeah.
knows how to cook it then.
There you go. Yeah, euros. I mean, that's like a monthly type of staple. So yeah,
Serious?
yeah.
Oh, I thought you were
So
kidding.
you guys will go.
No, we don't have it that often, but I mean, we have
You
it quite
have
often.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, I think it's such an interesting dish. Like around here, it's mostly all beef.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty
Yeah.
much as far as protein goes. That's what
Yeah.
we're running.
But, I mean, majority of what we eat in our household is beef too. The farms that we partner up with, so like Jason and Lance, they both raise cattle, and they raise a couple hundred between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime that we're getting beef, it's not from the store anymore. We just split one with them.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I mean, obviously, in our opinion, it's better. But
Oh yeah.
partially, I mean, you kind of know
sure.
where it's raised. You kind of know how it's raised, what's fed.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's not very often that you see much other than beef or chicken kind
Yeah.
of thing on the table.
Yeah.
I'd say that's probably the standard across the United States. I would say mostly.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
Lamb's
yeah.
pretty expensive to be eaten every day.
Yeah. Man, so that's cool. I want to move on a little bit. Do you guys have any other questions about the
No.
lamb at all, or
Uh-uh.
sheep? No. So to rewind a little bit, so you guys moved to the farm, started raising the animals. This is what you're doing today. Your day job and what you were doing before then. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So like I said, I've been in the Army for 16 years. I've got 4 years left until I intend to retire. And once I retire, I just want to work my farm full time and kind of be left alone a little bit. But Chrissy and I have been married the whole time, and it's been a challenge for all of us, just because moving and everywhere else. And then when we decided to set roots in Missouri and say, hey, this is where we're going to retire, and this is where we want to live when the Army's kind of done with us, and it's made life great. I really appreciate everything the Army has done. I've went a long ways in the Army, way farther than I ever expected to go. And, a lot of the deployments and just all the places I've traveled have been really cool. Like Afghanistan, obviously most of us have been there, and then Liberia. All these different places have always been cool. But the United States, just traveling around the United States has been really fun. I mean, almost every state I go to, I have friends from the Army that I could stay there. We actually have my battalion commander lives in Omaha. We're going to visit him after this podcast.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, and I mean, we haven't seen him. I haven't seen him since
About-
2013.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah,
I mean, that'll be awesome.
Yeah, so stuff like that is amazing. But the challenges that it does bring, they're pretty big challenges at times. So as a drill sergeant, when we started this farm, I would leave for work about 3 in the morning, and I'd come home at night somewhere around 10, 11, sometimes midnight. It just kind of depends. It's a demanding job, very rewarding, but very demanding. And what it demanded of me, time and energy, obviously, but it made it really hard for Chrissy and the kids, because while I'm there all day, 7 days a week, because drill sergeant, you don't get weekends off, you don't get days off. It's, when cycle break, that's when you get your time off. And so all that time, Chrissy and the kids are taking care of all the animals, so feeding them, watering, doctoring, pulling lambs if they need help with birth, whatever the case was.
Rotating before we had fencing.
Yeah, that was before we had
that
permanent
would be
paddocks.
tough.
It was rough. Well, we made a temporary fence, and I'll let you explain that part.
Oh, the temporary. What was that made out of? The plastic.
10X.
The 10X fencing. Yeah, it was. I had to roll it up every 5 days and rotate the fence.
Is this basically like
Oh.
the
With
snow
the
fence?
sheep.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That would be
basically, yeah.
tough.
So I'd have to roll that up every time I rotated the sheep.
Yeah.
So then the sheep were running free
Yeah.
while I was moving the
Oh,
fence.
gosh.
So then I had to push all the and this was before the dog too. So then you had to push all the sheep back into the fence too.
It's funny, man, when you hear those stories of when people are trying to build something, all the things that they went through prior to that just to make it
Progression.
work,
Yeah.
because you do what you got to do.
It gets even better. This was before the YouTube channel, so
Yeah.
people didn't really see all the real crazy struggles. So we had the portable fencing, I guess you could call it, to divide up the 10 acres, because we hadn't bought any more land at that point. And then we finally bought some more land. We started the YouTube channel in 2019, I think. And that was when we'd bought, at this point we're at 77 acres, and we started putting up 22,000 feet of fence so that Chrissy don't have to drag these 10X fences around anymore.
Jeez.
Water lines.
That was a nice present.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
But it's been a wonderful investment. Like now, literally go out there, rotate them. 5 days later, you really don't have to go check on them. We go out there and, depending on the weather, if it's going to be sunny for a while, we'll throw all their mineral out for 5 days and don't really have to look back. But we usually try to go out there, especially with them lambing like they're doing this time. It's the first time they've lambed in the summer, and a little more worrisome because it's so hot.
Yeah.
But it's still even with all that, though, like I said, the challenge has become I'm not always, if the Army says, hey, I need you to go do this, well, I can't. I got to rotate sheep Friday. That's
You
not an
can't tell
answer.
them no.
Yeah.
They're not going to buy that one.
Yeah.
So, as a matter of fact, this past June, I was gone during hay season. And, we'd already had a plan to cut and everything, and that plan kind of fell apart. Well, I told my neighbors, hey, I'll help you before I go, and then get all yours done, and then just save mine for last. And when I come back, I'll cut it, because they have a nicer baler than I've got, so they generally bale for me. And they ended up cutting my hay for me.
That's so nice.
Yeah, he called me. He's like, hey, I know you're supposed to come home, Friday or whatever. And he's like, is it okay if we cut hay on Thursday? And I was like, well, you can cut your hay whenever you want. I don't care. And he's like, no. He's like, I was going to cut your field. He's like, I was going to go through it and get the combine the fescue seed off of it, and then we'd go ahead and cut it too. And then we'll rake it and bale it. Probably it might be raked and baled before you get home. And I was like, well,
Shoot.
I'm not going to tell you no.
Have at it.
Yeah.
What do you guys do? Square bales on that?
Big rounds, 5 by
Big
rounds.
rounds, okay.
Yeah. The rounds are just so much easier. We've made our own feeders for the barn.
Sure. Yeah.
Kind of ties into the if I'm gone, it's now to a point where Chrissy can hop on the skid steer and put
Grab
new
one.
bales in the feeders.
Sure. Yep.
It's a lot easier, but
You better
Yeah.
look out, because she might not need you here after a couple more.
oh,
I don't cut hay. I can only rake hay.
yeah, she does a pretty good job raking hay, but she's not a big, not real fond of the tractor.
Okay.
The tractor is a lot
Oh,
more cumbersome.
I do like the skid steer though.
Yeah, those are fun.
Everybody likes skid steers.
Heck yeah.
Easy to move around, nice lot. Don't have to. It'd be nicer if it had a cabin, air conditioning heat.
Someday
No
maybe.
comment.
That's the progression here, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're still going through it here.
You guys were in Illinois. Is that where you joined?
Yeah, I joined at 17, left from Illinois, and came back, finished my senior year of high school, and then was going to actually say goodbye to a close friend of both of ours, and we really didn't know each other. We knew of each other because it's small high school, and went to say bye to Michelle, and Michelle was at her house. She was like, "Oh, I'm over here. Just come here to say bye."
We were moving.
Yeah, and Chrissy and her mom had just moved in there, and met them. Well, long story short, my dates got delayed for when I was supposed to go to AIT, and and be gone for good, kind of for the Army, and it worked out really well because things went well with us, and we ended up getting married. And about 6 months later, we got married, and kind of the rest
Wow.
is history.
So,
That's
so
cool.
you guys, you got married and then you left. Is
Yeah.
that for
Yeah.
training?
Yeah, so I went.
Or-
Well, no, I went to training and
First, and then-
we dated that whole time. Came
Okay.
back, proposed, and then got married in January, right before I left for Fort Lewis, and she came with me.
Okay.
Wow.
I graduated high school a half a year early.
Oh, really?
Here.
Yeah, just so
Married
she could go.
Oh my gosh.
Were
Good
you-
for you.
Was that a rule, like you couldn't get married if you weren't graduated? or-
No,
Oh,
I,
okay.
I wanted to graduate early anyways,
Oh, I
not
guess.
to marry him, but it sounds better that way.
Yeah.
So were your parents on board with this, or were they a little sketch?
Her mom was on board. My parents
Okay.
they're like, no, I don't know, you're pretty young, and
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, whatever, but it's always just fun to hear, what kind of parents think at the moment, or
Oh, my parents?
they were
were
good.
ready. They were like, bye.
We're out of
Your
here.
problem now.
Said no refunds. All sales are final.
Don't
You're on
send
your
her
own.
back.
Yeah, no, bring her back.
Oh, that's funny.
That is
Fort
funny.
Lewis, how far away is that? Is that far enough?
3,300 miles.
37
Yeah,
hours
there's about
if you're
30 or-
driving.
Yeah, it's 3,300 miles. It was 37 hours drive time, but
Oh, wow.
obviously it's driving straight through.
Yeah.
I think it took us 2 days, 2.5 days,
37?
Yeah.
something like
Oh,
that.
boy.
Yeah, it's a long trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then to make it better, we had to come back in July to do a formal wedding. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, the courthouse wedding was just so basically the Army. If it's not legal showing that you're married, the Army does not
Like
recognize it.
insurance and stuff
Insurance
like that. Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
getting BH and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
like
Okay.
if we weren't married, then I'd live in the barracks, and if she did come up there, we'd have to pay out of pocket for her to have an apartment.
Oh.
But, I mean, we
And
still have to
then
pay out of pocket regardless.
Since
But
he was going in, the paperwork would have been easier because when you come in later and after you get married, they would have messed up all the paperwork, and
yeah.
we would have been married for a while, and it would have taken a lot longer for all that to catch up.
I get you. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a simpler process. But we literally packed all of our stuff up, everything we had in a little U-Haul, and
5x8 U-Haul.
yeah, it's
So you
literally
guys
the
have
smallest
been
U-Haul.
a super team since high school then.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Pretty much.
that's awesome.
Yeah. I know.
And then, everybody was worried. They're like, that old. I see all your Chevy stuff. I had a '94 Chevy Silverado,
Uh-huh.
and that's what we left. It had like 270,000 miles on it or something like that when we left.
And it made the trip?
Oh yeah,
Dang.
flawless. Made
There
the
you
trip
go.
there and
That's the
back
thing, man.
twice.
That's
Gosh.
the thing. Like, you just hit the
Yeah.
road on a wing
I mean,
and a
if-
prayer, and you're like,
Here we
hopefully
go.
this old Chevy gets me there.
If that was a Ford, I wouldn't have made it, right?
Yeah, probably
Well,
not.
yeah.
Through
Exactly.
the
And I'm not
route to
walking to
Wyoming
Fort
that
Lewis.
we weren't supposed to go through.
Yeah. You guys probably know that because you're up here. I didn't know that Wyoming closes the road, like the interstate.
For the
Oh, yeah.
in the winter? or-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if it's,
Yeah.
If it's bad, don't
see all
go.
these signs that says,
After we went through.
yeah, we saw these signs that say,
Road closed, shut
road
down.
closed, exit now and stuff like that. I'm like, what is that talking about?
You
And,
just kept
See all
going?
the gates. Well, at the time, the gate wasn't closed.
Oh, shoot.
But the lights were, we'd seen all these signs, but the lights were flashing now. And then we're like, so, exit now, but the gates were open. And I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about.
Just kept going?
Kept going.
Was that old truck 4-wheel drive?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, that's a good thing.
Well, the old half ton worked for it.
Yeah.
It's the snow was getting pretty deep and it a little sketchy at times, but we made it.
They shut down 80
Oh, yeah.
fairly
And
often.
that's what
out by
that's what it
Kearney.
was.
On
We're
All the
Eddie.
time.
No, we were on 80 or 90. 80 if we're in Wyoming, I guess. Yeah.
Well, 80 will run like east to west across Nebraska.
Yep.
And that's probably part of the issue because you get those northern winds and then the snow
Just
starts blowing
drifts across.
across. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had some pretty
They
tall
shut
drifts.
it
There was a
down.
couple that were, almost up to the hood, and
Yeah.
we weren't slowing down. I was like, well, momentum is
Just
key.
hit it,
Yeah.
man.
Just
Yeah.
keep going.
Yeah.
That's
Worst case
awesome.
scenario, you go off the road, you have nice soft embankment.
Oh, my gosh.
Hopefully it keeps running.
Sure
So-
glad you guys made it.
Did the Army move you to Missouri?
Yeah, so we went from Fort Lewis to Fort Riley to Fort Leonard Wood the first time, Fort Leonard Wood to Fort Hood, back to Fort Leonard Wood to be a drill sergeant. It's kind of you never know where you're going next, and it makes it very challenging to plan, especially when you're like, well, this is my retirement plan. Well, the Army can throw a lot of kinks in that. They could, at 20 years, they could say, no, you're not retiring it. They could deny it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was always 20. Put your 20
No,
in.
you can do 20 you can do up to 32 years depending on your rank. As a Sergeant First Class, like I am as an E7, it's 26 years, I think.
So you
24,
said drill
something
sergeant.
like that. Yeah, so
So
drill
tell me
sergeant-
about like what you do. Are you like in
So-
the movies, like the ones that's like yelling at
just like
everybody? and
just like Gunny Army.
Oh my god! Now
He's
I'm
our
getting
gunny.
nervous.
No, so I was a drill sergeant from May of 2017 to May of 2020.
Okay,
And, I mean, absolutely amazing job.
you enjoyed it.
Loved it.
Okay.
I had a great time. The hours sucked, but overall it was very rewarding. And
Because why? Because
you
it
s-
was
you see a civilian basically. So somebody comes in, especially, I mean, we call them kids because they are at 18.
yeah.
You know,
Because
just like
you were
when-
that once.
Yeah, just like when we left, we're like, oh, yeah, we know what we're doing. We had no idea what we're doing. We're doing good to, and this was before Google Maps. We couldn't just put it in our phone and go.
Tom.
No, then we just had the map.
No, we did not have a
Yeah,
Tom.
we just had the
did-
map.
had a map. We got Tom
MapQuest,
Man.
No,
that's a
not
trim
even
up.
the MapQuest, like the little
like an
fold
actual
out
map.
paper
Yeah.
map. Yeah, in every state we'd go to, we'd just get a new map. Because when you go in the first rest area or whatever, the welcome center
Yeah.
thing, you get a map.
That's
of that state.
true. Okay.
So
So,
that's
but
what
do
we
you
do.
feel for these kids a little bit, or
Oh,
not
yeah.
really?
Well, some of them.
Some
Some
of them
are-
are just jerks.
Some are just stupid.
Okay.
And
So you put them in their place right away?
oh yeah. Well, when they leave, they're not as stupid.
They can't be, or
Well-
they quit, right?
No, I say they could be still stupid. They could just quit and not
Yeah.
follow up. But for the most part, we do our best to not let them quit
Okay.
for a couple reasons. One, it's uncomfortable. You're away from home. It's very different from however you're living at home. But the Army's also invested a lot of money to get you to come here.
Yeah.
And if we just let you quit on day one because you're like, oh, it's hard, you also won't see your full potential. There's a lot of people that showed up and they're, I just can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. And, it kind of goes from, on day one, I can't do this to, week 3 or 4. Hey, we're going to go to the range. We're going to shoot. It's pretty cool. They're writing their parents and telling everybody like, hey, I've done this, I've done that. And then when graduation day rolls around, so as a OSIT drill sergeant, so it's not just basic training. We have them for basic and AIT. And so they go through basic training with us. Nothing changes. They don't get a graduation from basic training. They just stay with us and they
And how long
keep
is
going.
basic?
Well, then at that time it was 9 weeks. It's increased now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then their AIT was another 6 weeks. So we'd have these guys for 15 weeks at a time.
Oh, wow.
And so basic is just literally the basics, learning how to army. And it's not as simple as just point and shoot. It's not as simple as marching. Like they have to learn and understand because everybody comes from different places. That no matter what, everybody can have their own different upbringings. You can have your own personal views. It's fine. But everybody is an individual here that is going to be treated with respect. So that is probably one of the harder things because some folks that, they come from inner city and their way of getting along with
Everybody has
life.
a different story.
Yeah,
everybody has a different background and different where they're coming from.
But they're like some people's way of getting through life is, being the biggest, baddest that there is. And in the Army, it's great to have big and bad people on your side, but you have to work with those big and bad people. And if they can't work as a team, it really becomes a problem because if they're like, well, I did this, I did that, then okay, what about the rest of your team? Where are they at? Yeah. Were they able to accomplish these things too? Yeah. And it's trying to get them past the mentality of just me, like, hey, you have everybody that's relying on you. And not only that, but everybody there is relying on you to help their family member, their, son or daughter get home.
And what I'm picking up a lot from this story, it reminds me of Hobbs talking about his coaching experience where he's trying to get people.
Similar.
Yeah. And it sounds to me like that's the mentality that you take and all the other drill sergeants take when you're bringing these kids and these young adults, young men, women, that are 18,
you
17.
Can say kids. We say that all the time.
Well, yeah.
We weren't supposed to. They're kids.
They're kids. Babies.
Yeah.
But it's the exact same mentality.
Yeah.
You got to learn teamwork, you know.
Well, and war it's a football game with severe consequences.
Yeah.
So, at the end of the game, it's the same concept, completely the same concept.
But now you're doing something else.
Yeah, so now I'm an OCT. So my job is to observe reserve units that are, maybe getting ready for mobilization, or they're just they're just training up to make sure they're still checking the blocks. And so for reserve units, it's very different. So I'm an active duty soldier that has to work with these guys, and it's different because they have civilian jobs. So it's not like me where I'm a full-time soldier and essentially a part-time farmer. They are full-time civilian and whatever their jobs may be, police officer, firefighter, nurse, whatever. 1 week in a month, they're coming away from that and they're going to, play Army essentially or perform Army duties to retain those soldier skills. And it makes it difficult because, at first it's hard to have compassion for them because they're like, well, we are both, especially when you see another Sergeant First Class, we're both Sergeant First Class. It's like, how are you not understanding this? And then you have to step back and kind of look and be like, it's hard for them because, they're with their family 95% of the year, and then you're asking them to step away for that one weekend and then also 2 weeks a year to do a culminating event. And so it's hard for them to retain all that because they're only getting paid to be there and do Army stuff for that one weekend or those 2 weeks. Whereas their main job is paying them, Monday through Friday.
Okay.
And it's hard to expect them to work or, practice their soldier duties when they're not on Army time.
Yeah, it's like
if that makes
jumping
sense.
back into something that you've kind of forgot how to do, maybe, or I don't know.
Well, it's just hard because and even for me, it's difficult because it's just a different world working with them. The mentality, like as an active duty soldier, like we don't go home until the job is done. Whereas, if they're civilian employer, they kind of got X, let's say they got these 2 weeks off or whatever it was that they're doing. And, let's say at the end of that training event, they're just not quite there yet and they need a little bit more time. Well, it's just not how it works for them. And it's unfortunate because it could be beneficial, but it's, that it's just not their normal. It's not what the Army Reserves is more about. These guys are still very proficient for being a part-time soldier, and it's pretty cool to see it because I think that I would definitely have the same struggle that they would, because if the Army is my part-time job, like I put more time into the Army than I do into our farm right now. Now, obviously, once I retire, then it'll be the opposite. I won't put any time into the Army because I'll be retired, but I'll put everything I have into the farm, and that's what makes it difficult because, Chrissy has to pick up all the slack for the farm when I can't.
Yeah.
And, unfortunate sometimes because the Army will say, hey, by the way, tomorrow you're leaving to go here. Well, I can't. I need to do this or that. Well, that doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
No.
We know enough people, Ben. I mean, and you have friends that have to toggle between, like you said, I like kind of how you say that, playing Army and, their full-time civilian job. I know it's not like playing,
I get it. No, I totally get it. Yeah, we definitely, we've got buddies that are in the Guard, in one way or
exact same
another.
concept.
They were active duty at one point, and they struggle with the same kind of things or whatever, trying to figure that stuff out.
Yeah.
Even with just the little bit that I do with the local fire department, it's the same kind of concept, what you're talking about, where we're there a couple of days a month.
Yeah.
We're doing our training. We're going to spend all Sunday burning a house down to try to, get learnings and figure out how all this works, these kinds of things. And then, we stand next to, Omaha's down the road. You guys are going to Omaha.
Yep.
A full-time Omaha firefighter. And that dude's going to run circles around us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's a different concept.
But, so OCT stands for Observer, Controller, Trainer. And so the OCT concept has changed a lot lately. Not so much lately, within the last year or so. And it used to be if you were an observer controller, you didn't really train them so much. You just observed, controlled, hey, this is the lane that we're going on and this is kind of the training event. And if they veer off of it, you're pushing them back to make sure they're staying on that lane and performing the training we're supposed to perform. Now it's gotten better because it's not just you kind of watching and grading. Now you're able to step in and say, hey, time out for a second. What if we try to, try to guide them towards the right answer and show them that, it's all right. You were close. You're not completely wrong. There's a better way. And I want to show you that. And that's the same concept, like you said, when you're sitting with a full-time firefighter, them being able to mentor you and say, hey, you got a great idea going there, but can I show you something that's going to help you out and maybe make your life a little simpler?
Rather than yelling or, like.
That comes with experience.
Yeah. Right.
And as a drill sergeant, we just yelled. Our job was to create chaos.
So did you come home and do that with your kids just to throw them off? Oh.
My kids see through it. They know I'm a big, and it's so funny because
it's so funny to me because Ben's like way opposite. Like never seen him yell, so he's very calm. It would just be crazy for him to be like, rah,
oh man,
Well, and that's what's been interesting for me about this conversation. So
because you don't strike me as someone that would do.
So it's just a
it's a play.
It's a play.
Not a play, I guess.
So you're an actor.
Kinda.
You're really good at acting.
Well, the Millennial Farmer gave me so many lessons.
You obviously have it in you.
Yeah, well,
because you can't fake that.
No, and so it comes down to, so when you go to the Drill Sergeant Academy, they
teach you how to.
Well, they don't teach you. It's not so much that as they're teaching you like to doctrine. Like you have to memorize these modules, and you have to. So like, there's 9 weeks that it's basic training, but for an NCO essentially. You're going back and you're going through just what the privates would go through when they go through basic training. You have to learn all the modules, and you have to not like learn them as in read them and kind of understand them, like memorize them.
Memorize them and then be able to yell them.
So the people that are driving by this academy are thinking it's an insane asylum because you're walking by and they might see people like talking to a tree, like trying to describe the position of attention to a tree, and you're kind of like, what in the hell is wrong with this guy? But it's not just one; it's like 7 or 8 people.
Oh,
like,
wow! Yeah,
something
that would
wrong
be
with
weird.
this group. Well,
That's
so
funny.
they do that, and then you get to the point where you're so aggravated because you had to learn all this. So now you know it to a T, and then you see a private that's standing at a position of attention, but I don't know. Let's say that they're moving their eyes, or they've got everything else right, but they're moving their eyes around and they're following somebody around. Hey, private, your eyes face straight forward. Don't move them around. Like all those things, those little pet peeves. But instead of just one doing it, now you've got you're doing this, you're doing, you're moving your fingers.
Oh, so you got to catch everybody.
It's everybody. And it just gets to the point where you're just like, you know what? Screw it. Nobody can get it right. That's fine. Half right, face. And you have them do a push-up.
Get all fired up.
Yeah. And then, you can even make that go farther because you can be like, well, you're not doing a push-up right, so we're still at 0. And, because the Army they've gotten softer, but you can read between the lines a little bit because, like they might say, hey, only 40 repetitions of any exercise is authorized for a corrective action. Hey, no problem. They haven't done one yet, so we're still at 0.
Oh, even though maybe they've done 20.
Yeah, but in reality, there's some that are that are actually in that formation that have done 20 or 30 or 40.
They're now actually at 60.
Yeah, they're really doing well, and they're getting stronger and better. But stuff like that is what kind of makes it to where you're learning to play the game with them, and it gets better because you'll have other drill sergeants that'll just walk behind, and we all have our preferences. So like all the drill sergeants there, like I'm a big Chevy fan. Bullard was a big Ford fan, and so I'd tease Bullard. Well, I'd poke my battle buddy basically with the privates and be like, "Hey, privates, who do you think's the best at ruck marching here?" And drill sergeant Bullard, because he was faster than I was. Well, why do you think that is? And, the privates have no idea. They don't answer. And I was like, it's probably because he drives a Ford, privates. That's just my, I'm just saying he's the only one driving a Ford and just happens to be good at walking. Coincidence? Maybe. But I don't think so.
Yeah. You're putting him in a tough spot there.
You are. But you know what? The funny thing is the privates like, because there's other privates that are like, oh, yeah, I'm a big Chevy fan too, or Dodge or whatever. So you get them started and then you're like, oh, this is perfect. Hey, Bullard, there's some out there talking shit about Fords. I don't know. You should probably go get them under control.
Yeah. Get that private back in line.
Yeah. So and he gets mad about it. So it's fun like that because you have, if you don't have good battle buddies and good comrades, you're going to be in for a world of hurt because it's long hours. These other people that are there with you, that are playing pranks on the privates with you, are helping you stay sane.
Yeah.
Because it's a long, sleeping. Well, if I'm leaving at 3 and I'm home at 10. That's
not a lot of sleep.
No, it's not a lot of sleep.
No.
And then not only that, but I still got to go home, shower, eat something. Thankfully, my wife would have food ready for me. I was wasting very little time as far as that goes. But even then, so I'm going to bed maybe at 11 on a pretty good day. So from 11 to 3 is only 4 hours.
Yeah,
that's not a lot of sleep, and that's 7 days a week. So the only day you get off is CQ. So if you have to stay there overnight with the privates, then the next day you're off at least. So you get a chance to sleep and kind of catch up, visit with your family and see them for a little while.
Yeah.
So I'm about 2 deep into it now.
There it is.
Now, we had a great conversation about the farm and, your military life. Tell us about Freedom Farms here. Like, what was the inspiration or what was the why, I guess, behind starting the YouTube channel, bringing a community together? Where did this all come from? Because I feel like everyone that we've had on, whether it's Zach or whoever, Millennial Farmer, everyone's kind of had a different idea or a purpose or a hope for their YouTube channel or whatever they got going on.
So when we started the YouTube, we'll start with the farm. So the farm was just a dream that kind of both of us had. She'd always wanted horses, and I'd always wanted a farm. I really wanted row crop, but couldn't necessarily make that work.
I always wanted the animals.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
But so we both had dreams and aspirations of farming, and so we came together to make it work with what we could make work and still achieve our dreams.
Okay.
And whether, the YouTube channel was kind of an afterthought because the farm was already going. The farm had been going for almost 2 years. Well, year and a half, almost 2. Yeah. By the time YouTube had really popped my head, and that's because I was watching Zach and I was watching, Nick and Scott and Welker's Farms. And I'd seen that, and I was like, well, what about the little guy, though? What about the ones that they're starting out? What about, I don't think that gets talked about enough because there's so many people that are starting a farm. And, the average farm in Missouri, for instance, is 85 acres. So we are still not even the size of an average-size farm. And we've been going for 5 years. But you'll have large farms like Zach or Larson or Welker that, thousands of acres, and they have an amazing story to tell. And what I saw was a little bit of the problem with it is that it shows where the farm's at now, and Zach has showed some history, but it doesn't tell the story. And part of it's because they the ancestors that Zach and Larson's and them have.
Third or fourth generation, right?
Yeah.
It's a third or fourth
They're just
generation
not there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like, worst case scenario, this YouTube channel fails, even the farm fails. It's still kind of a blueprint for others to learn from whatever mistakes we made that made us fail.
Mm-hmm.
Best case scenario is it does well and other people see it, learn from it, and say, hey, that's a pretty good idea. And we have questions, and they start asking questions on the YouTube channel,
Right,
on the videos, and we're helping educate people. And then I'm sure you've heard of him, Growing Corn 2020, Tony.
Okay.
I
don't know.
I mean, I might be inaccurate. I think that he started the whole destroying crops, the rumor, the whatever you call it, right? So he had a video on TikTok where he's going through and he's harvesting wheat or something like that, and he says that, we went through and sprayed it to kill it off because the government's paying us so many dollars an acre or whatever.
Okay.
Oh, geez.
So it's really humorous because anybody that's been around farms can look and be like, well, you're harvesting wheat.
Right.
You're spraying to kill off, you're doing double crops or something like that. So you might be spraying to kill off some other items.
That was your stand. That was your,
yeah.
Oh, you're good.
Anyways, so stuff like that I just found funny. But the problem is that people that don't have a farming background believe it. And it ran like wildfire.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we even have one on our channel that talks about destroying crops. And we're literally brush hogging. Our hayfield had already been cut. This is fall. We're brush hogging to keep weeds from seeding out. And, we start the YouTube video off just kind of teasing, bringing everybody along, saying, we're going to, the government's going to pay us like $3,700 an acre to go mow down this crop.
Got to destroy this crop.
Yeah. You would not believe how
haters.
many people believe this.
Yeah.
To this day, this video posted a year ago almost. To this day, we still get a comment or two, maybe 3 a week about, it's just part of getting the food shortage. So many people are so disconnected that they just believe the government and everybody's out to get you, which, I mean...
And they'll believe a TikTok video. They'll die on that hill, a TikTok video.
And they're like, it's got to be true. It's got to be true.
Yeah.
And Tony's even corrected it. Like, Tony was like, hey, it's a joke.
You can't correct it enough, though.
No. And had I realized that when I posted the video, I would have never posted it.
Right. But now, what are you going to do? It's like...
Well, now I'm like, I'm going to leave it. Because I think that enough people, because you'll have us that comment and try to reel people in, like, hey, if you watch the whole video, you'll see that we explain that this is not what's really happening. It's actually, a method of controlling weeds without chemicals in our case.
Right.
And you're talking about a small minority there, but they're the loudest, or they're the ones that are, willing to just get up and bark. And I saw just a wild stat that kind of mirrors this, I feel. And it's that joke. I mean, we think it's funny, but, brown cows are the ones that make chocolate milk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
7% of Americans believe that.
Oh, stop.
Yeah, so you think that's funny, but then you think about the population of the United States. You're talking about
330 million people. So
let's take 7% of that.
Yeah. So
you're talking millions of people think that brown cows are the ones that produce chocolate milk.
It's like 25 million people, roughly.
Yeah.
7%,
when you hear that number, 25 million people in the United States think that brown cows are responsible for development.
They don't?
Well,
welcome to the party.
This kind of throws my scale here, but
okay.
Make it 8%.
1 in 5.
Yeah. No, but
1 in 5.
I think it's just so interesting when you're saying that just doing the YouTube channel there isn't, I guess I don't know a ton of brands or farms that are out there that are first generation farmers like you. So I think it's awesome to be able to show what you're doing from the start.
That's what we wanted to do. And it wasn't because these other farms are amazing. It is, to keep a farm going for generations. Yeah. I know a lot of people are like, they get everything given to them. Well, they don't. No. But they do have a running process that does help tremendously, but it can easily be messed up. It takes 3 generations to ruin a farm. First one to start it, the second one to basically continue it, and then the third one to lose it.
Yeah. First generation plants the seed.
Yep.
Second generation enjoys the shade from the tree.
Yep.
Third generation cuts the tree down.
Yep. Yeah. And so, my hat's off. It's a tremendous feat. And my grandparents both grew up on farms. And that, again, the same thing with the stories of the Army my grandpa told me. My grandparents told me stories about the farms they grew up on. So it only helped nourish that idea of having one.
That's awesome.
While everybody can't be, a 5th generation farmer, anybody can be a first generation farmer.
Yes.
And that was kind of the broad concept that we wanted to put out there. But we wanted to also show, and we need to do a little bit better of a job on our channel of showing the stresses and the struggles. But fortunately and unfortunately, we've made good decisions that have been worked well for us. But there's the decisions we made that did work poorly.
Right.
But the decisions that worked poorly for us really didn't make much of a difference. So we kind of didn't really worry about it so much.
Yeah,
and that's
didn't
stuff
broadcast it.
Stuff that you had showcased on the channel that you're talking about, like some of those
all of
poor
this stuff is
decisions.
showcased on the Freedom Farms YouTube channel,
which I think is huge, and I think that's one of the best things about YouTube. Folks are honest with what they're doing. Like, this isn't all like we didn't just edit this so you only see the good stuff.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, here's the bad decisions we made. Here's where we tripped. Here's how this actually works out here.
The prime example with a bad decision, we put sawdust down we put it down in like September or something like that.
Yeah.
And the sawdust is what we use for bedding, and we get it from a local sawmill, so it's wet but not like soaking wet. So like it'll absorb some of the urine, and it kind of powders the manure to like a powdered donut kind of, so it doesn't stick to the animal's fur as much and stuff like that. Well, we put it down
Way
2
too
months
early.
ahead,
Yeah.
and it got dried out.
Oh,
and so when the animals go in there, it's like a dust bowl. It was terrible. We had 3 animals that died from it.
We got 6 that got sick, 3 that died, 1 that we were able to save, and then the 2.
3.
One actually had to get medicine and stuff.
And it's not like
the other 2 were fine on their own once we got them out.
You can't water it down.
We were
it just
watering
wasn't
it down,
enough.
and I just couldn't get
But you're
all of
probably
it.
talking about like a really big area.
Okay,
very big.
that's
So,
true.
yeah, so
Okay.
that barn, we show everything. So we've built 22,000 feet of fence,
Jeez.
a 40-foot by 140-foot livestock barn that majority of the labor was the 2 year right here in front of you.
Yeah.
We had some help from neighbors here and there and some friends.
Found
Same
out
thing.
a lot of men are scared of heights when it came to doing roofing.
We built a shop building, and then people see, we break things a lot. We break a lot of things.
Yeah.
And when we break them, it's not as simple as just going to buy something new. I mean, it could be, but we're almost certain. We feel that would be the end of our farm, because whatever money that we do have coming in, if it starts going out rapidly, then it gets to a point where, because the Army and her teaching had been funding the farm. This year is the first year that the farm has paid for all of its fuel on its own. It paid for
Nice.
That's
the grain
huge.
all on its own,
And
and
when
it paid for all the spray.
When did you say you guys moved out there or started it?
Well, we started the farm in early 2017,
17,
May
okay.
2007. Well,
Yeah.
I guess September 17 really is when we bought the first 3. And then
so you're 5 years
5 years in
down the road,
Yeah.
and here it comes.
and this is the first time it's actually
Yeah.
paid for all of its stuff. And next year the profit margin should be a little better, because hopefully we won't have to spend another $2,000 in spray.
Yeah.
But those are the things that we wanted to showcase and explain to everybody that it's hard, and there's corners that you're gonna have to cut.
Absolutely.
And it's not always fun, but the benefit is there if you want to work for it and get it.
How much do you think your upbringing versus your military training has prepared you to be able to run this thing the way you're running it right now?
I would say my upbringing definitely helps more.
Yeah, she is way smarter about the animals than I am.
Mm-hmm.
She can look at him and kind of be like, well, that doesn't seem like it's acting right, and I'm like, he's walking slow, he's fine. And I'm like, he woke up from a nap, he's fine. He needs to drink some water. That's the Army answer.
That's more of like like you just know, like that's like a sixth sense, almost like you're watching it, like something's going on here.
When she sees these animals
I
every day.
grew up with working with more animals, and gardening was like most of my.
Yeah.
He did more.
Mine's
crops
more row
and
crop.
stuff.
So as far as like understanding, how to make fields better, how to control nutrients, how to control nuisance weeds and vegetation is more my lane. But in the Army, I'm an engineer for the Army. That's my actual MOS. I'm a 12 hotel, so I'm a construction engineer, and built buildings all over the world, and that obviously has helped. So like when we were building our barn, laying it out and everything else, and explaining to her, like we were talking about earlier when we were talking about shirt designs and stuff like that, the 1.5 by 2.5. She didn't understand, because I was telling her, hey, every 5 feet you're gonna make a mark right on that 5 foot mark, and then 3/4 of an inch before and 3/4 of an inch after, you're going to make a line with the square across the board. That's going to show us where the
that's already
subs go.
confusing to me too.
Well, she was like, wait a minute,
That
3/4
is-
of an inch.
That's not.
That's
it.
not normal.
Yeah, she was like, something's not right here. It's a 2x4. She's like, that's only 1.5 inches. And I was like, you're right, that is only 1.5 inches because they are only 1.5 inches.
Right.
And you know, we're working with 2x6s at the time, so
Yeah.
it's
My
not-
mind was blown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was like, well, why isn't it a 1.5 or by a 2.5 or 1.5 or by a 5.5? And it's like, I don't know. I guess it doesn't roll off your tongue as well.
Yeah.
And so, you know, stuff like that and has really helped. Like, I understood it, and I built stuff with my grandpa and even the farms I'd worked on. But, you know, for her, she was kind of like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would it be like that?
Mm-hmm.
But are you mechanical?
Yeah.
You said you fix
Yeah,
a lot
so
of
I-
stuff for the neighbors.
Yeah, and most of the stuff.
So-
And, you know, I enjoy that. I would,
Okay.
you know, like baling, I don't like baling that well. I baled a lot for Jason with his tractor and his baler.
Mm-hmm.
And not just because it's a John Deere, I didn't like it. It
Oh,
was really more along the lines of baling is just not, I don't like it that well. I'd go out there and mow all day opposed to baling.
gotcha.
It's just not as fun. It's not as entertaining. You know, you got to change the net wrap every once in a while.
Yeah.
You know, for the most part, the mower, you got a full tank of fuel, you're good for a couple days.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so stuff like that is more my lane. Like mechanical or you know, engineering is me. She definitely takes care of the animals as far as, you know, hey, what's wrong with them? Stuff like that is definitely her. But then she makes me administer the shots.
Yeah.
Good team effort
I
here.
know,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Balance each other out most of the time.
I guess you could say she's the doctor, I'm the nurse.
There you
there
go.
There we are.
That's good.
But
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it's been a fun journey, and I don't think that I think the YouTube channel is going to kind of run out of content a little bit, and not, you know, I hate being repetitive, but there's new people that come to YouTube every day to look for things, and just being like, well, we've done one video like that already, I think would hurt the ability to actually show and demonstrate it to others. So I do think it's going to hurt the YouTube channel growing and being as big as, say, Zach's or Larson's, but I do see the educational benefit to it, you know, and I think that is going to be a bigger help to us than anything. And like I said before, it's also a way to document our farm to show where it started and where it's come
Yeah,
from. 'Cause
absolutely.
if you watch one of our first videos, not only is the editing much better now, but the the way we were doing things then and seeing like how, for lack of better terms, how crappy the pastures looked compared to now is a night and day difference. It is just a very different farm. And like neighbors that have lived there for, like Keevan's been there for his whole life. And he actually used to dairy on the farm or the land that we own now. He used to help run a dairy on that.
Okay.
And he said that this farm, he said, it's never seen it look so good. It's amazing what you guys have
Well,
done.
that's got to feel good.
It does, because
Yeah.
to see somebody that's been there that long and be like, you know, if this guy who has run his own farm, cut his own hay, been working his own farm for, you know, decades, can say that about a farm that's only a few years old, it says something to us, and it really does make us feel quite a bit better. And he said, you know, the way you're running it is definitely setting it up for success for your kids.
So that's awesome. So where is this YouTube channel? What do people need to look for?
Oh, it's Freedom Farms. Just
We kept like everybody in suspense, I felt.
Oh,
like
yeah,
a long
yeah,
time.
So
there.
freedomfarms.com.
No, just Freedom Farms. If you go to YouTube and search Freedom Farms, there are some other Freedom
That's what I
Farms
was going to say. Is there
things on there, but we should be the first one that shows up.
Okay.
You guys are probably the
And
most
same
popular.
on-
Yeah, matter of fact, yeah, search it real quick. See.
same
I'm checking.
on like Instagram, Facebook type of thing?
So Facebook, we were Freedom Farms, Roby, Missouri.
Rogan,
That
sorry.
Roby,
sorry.
and that will definitely get you to our page. And then TikTok and Instagram are both Freedom Farms USA, no spaces.
Okay.
And
Yeah, because I noticed when I just typed it into Google, like, and I think it has to do with our location, and Google's really good about that, trying to find you what you're looking for.
yeah, nearby.
Yeah, Freedom Farms in Nebraska came up, or Nebraska Freedom Farms.
There's actually
So-
another one in Missouri.
Oh,
Not
really?
on YouTube that I know of, but
Okay.
yeah, it's like Freedom Farms Exotics or something.
Was that the first one that pulled, Ben, when you put it up on
yep,
YouTube?
it was for
okay,
me.
good.
Yep.
All right.
So
Yeah,
on YouTube,
you're
we're
right.
still I
Yeah.
figured we'd be the number one search.
Yep.
Okay.
But yeah, there's another one in Pennsylvania, and there's a lot of them. And then
It's I mean, obviously those words are fairly common, but it rings true. It's cool.
I say, and the big reason is obviously the military background, and a lot of people don't know this about me, but my stepdad actually adopted me. So Linden is my stepdad's last name, technically, my biological father's. And so while I have no problem putting my last name to it because, he's my dad in my eyes, but I felt like a way to kind of carry it with, my grandpa and all the other. I mean, we have several family members that have served. My dad did, my grandpa did, my dad's dad, so my other grandpa as well. My cousin, actually 2 of my cousins, her nephew. We have a lot of military members that had served. So far to date, the only ones that have retired would be my grandpa. And then the next one will probably be me, and then one of my cousins will be the other one.
Okay.
So a lot of them joined. They did some time and decided, I'm going to move on with my life, and that's okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that do that, and it's still a good way to, broaden your horizons and kind of learn about the world. So that's kind of where Freedom Farms came in, but it also kind of tips into our apparel a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We only want to offer our apparel on USA-made clothing, and Ben, you and Morgan have been more than accommodating of that. I know times it's been a little tricky to find some of the stuff we need, but
that's all right.
I think that's where it's heading, though. I really do.
Well,
I'm optimistic about
Yeah.
it.
There's a
I
lot
really
of
am.
it. Yeah, you hear more and more about it. And to your point, Travis, the American-made stuff, it's been very hard to find. And fortunate enough for us, a lot of these big wholesalers that we buy from, they're starting to bring in more American-made brands. So we were just looking at some of them with you guys today, and it's a great product. We're pumped to see what this is going to be like and what folks, how folks are going to like it. We're still always going to have, it's the same thing with anything right now. The item availability, doesn't matter where it's coming from, is low right now. Just is what it is.
Yeah.
Options, colors, those types of things. Hats especially. There's something about how they're making hats that they make them so hard to get. But we've got a couple of suppliers that we're looking at, and I think it's going to be a great product line.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it, and it's kind of this is kind of our way of all these people that have supported us in my military service. It's our way to say, we appreciate all the support from them, and we appreciate it so much that we want to support you now and support your American-made business by using your products. Not because, and it's not because we hate other countries, nothing like that. It's just the simple fact that these are the people that have stood behind me when I go and fight wars for this country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anytime I leave the United States, I've never had to worry about my family being taken care of. There's organizations that'll step in to whatever they need to help with. They're there, mow the yard, whatever you need, they'll take care of it. And it's an amazing feeling knowing that I don't have to worry about them. My wife's a strong woman, and I don't worry too much about her in general. But knowing that if she really needs help, there's organizations that want to help. They want to lend that hand and say, hey, we appreciate what you're doing. So like I said, we just wanted to return the favor. We want to show everybody that hey, we are very appreciative of it, and we appreciate it so much that we want to do the same thing with you.
I think that's cool.
One of the things that I really like to see and hear, and I suspect that you guys probably live this way, is folks are always coming up to military members, first responders, whatever, and saying, thank you for your service.
Yep.
Right? And then your response is, thank you for allowing me to serve.
Yeah.
Right?
I say thank you for allowing me to serve, or it's been an honor to serve you.
Yep.
Thank you for being an American worth fighting for, because just like any other nation, we always have some of those citizens that we're not so proud of, but they're still ours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
right.
But yeah, it's I love the fact. Matter of fact, yesterday we walked out of a grocery store there in Des Moines, Iowa, on our way here, and walked out, and this family, like 3 or 4 kids in the back of this SUV, they all roll the window down, and they're all yelling, "Oh, thank you for your service!" And I usually try to carry, when the Army has me going places, I usually try to carry extra flags from our uniforms, and try to give them out to kids, because it's kind of a fun way. It's something fun that they get, and then kind of bring some pride back to our flag. That, I know a lot of people don't necessarily feel the same as, I wish we felt like we did on 9/11 about it. The 9/11, that was a universal flag, and I love it. And I want that day or those days back, not necessarily that attack.
That,
Right.
That
patriotism.
Yeah, and I think that it the more, like we talked about with teamwork, the more people, more Americans become, hey, let's we're both Americans. We should help each other.
Yeah.
Instead of, letting political agendas and other crap get in the way. I think it really does hurt our society.
And you were talking about kind of a macro there about organizations that will take care of your family, but you can really get down to what you were saying, the individuals, like your neighbors helping out when you weren't around to cut hay.
Yeah.
Like organizations are made up of individuals, and I think we're seeing, I don't know if it's a renaissance, but a lot more people coming back to, I want American-made products, or I see the need, or, I want to help my neighbor. I really do. I think there's a lot more patriotism coming back than maybe what we're hearing over some of the mainstreams. And that might even be why YouTube and podcasts and things of this nature are becoming so popular, because we've had it. We've had enough of what we're being fed over here. Yeah. We know there's good folks out there.
I say it. I know Luke Bryan's probably not the best country singer to use as an example, but he's got a song called "Most People Are Good."
Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys have probably heard it. And I truly believe that. Of all the people, even around the world that I've met, there's really not very many people that are bad.
I agree.
And the few people that are bad are the ones that we're usually chasing down.
Yep.
So if people can understand that everybody's not out to get you, like the people think we're destroying crops for fun or for a paycheck, things like that. I think if people, especially in this day and age, you have your phone, you can easily research and kind of get ahead of the game and be like, is this really accurate? You could actually research and have your own answer. And
it takes time and effort, though.
I know, and not be
TikTok video.
Not be a sheep in one of our paddocks.
There you go. I love it.
I think to your point too, Andy, it's like with the podcast and with those types of things you're talking about, there isn't anything hidden.
No,
you know what I mean?
Right.
Like we're not.
Oh, this is pretty raw.
Yeah, we're not some big corporation that we can kind of slide things in there or whatever, you know what I mean? And that's why people are so much more gravitating to these kinds of things and to these small farms and where they can get their meats and their vegetables.
Yeah, I mean, technology definitely has its downsides. You gotta watch your kids on it, because unfortunately there are people that will take advantage of them, or your grandparents too. But as far as being able to have information at your fingertips, being able to research or figure out how to do something, I mean, it doesn't get any better. You used to have to go to college to learn all these things.
Yeah.
You can do it literally at the fingertips.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's something our founder at News Channel Nebraska, he always says to everybody is, we don't owe anybody time. Where other networks and stations, especially national ones, you owe Chevrolet time, you owe Pepsi Cola time, and you better be saying things that they agree with, or advertising. Advertising comes, and that's where we're just a little bit different. Where I work for a small news syndicate here in the state.
And it's funny you bring that up, because we've turned some sponsorships down just because of the simple fact that, like I said, if their products aren't made here, I just don't want to advertise for them. And we use places that aren't, like Premier One. Premier One is a wonderful resource for getting products for sheep or goats and pigs, I think.
Horse, pigs, chickens.
I don't think they have a lot of horse stuff.
Anyway, some horse stuff, not a lot.
But a great tool for that. And while I appreciate everything that they have, I don't, I wouldn't want to try to chase them down and say, hey, I want you to sponsor my channel. And like I said, great company. A lot of their people are actually based, I think one of the guys that we talked to there is right there in Iowa, so not far away. But they're good people. But it's just simple fact that if I'm going to dedicate my time or say, you can be a part of something that I've started, it's going to have to be aligned with everything that I want.
For sure, yeah. Man, I don't know. That's been
good.
Gone through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I got a couple other things that, as we come to a close here, and also looking at this recorder, we're getting pretty low on the battery power.
Oh. Ooh. You better move.
Keep the answer short, Chrissy.
Yeah, so couple of things, some folks that we work with. You guys had mentioned beef, so you guys work with some local friends of yours that you get beef from. So we also work with an operation, the Upstream boys. Where are they at, Andy?
Upstream? Ooh.
Upstream's in
why do we always
Albion?
Yeah, Albion.
Yes, it's always like a what?
Yeah.
We know. We know.
Matt and Joe, they're twin brothers. These guys are I think just a few years out of college. But we've been buying beef from them now for probably a couple of years.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
And they're a brand on our website as well. So they've got,
nice.
They do some social media things. We do merchandise for them and stuff like that. But their beef is second to none.
Awesome.
So I want you guys to put this up against what you get.
Okay.
There we go.
And get some of this Nebraska beef. So these guys were willing with basically with working us on the podcast and on the website for our guests to give you guys a gift pack. So you guys are going to have a gift pack coming, some T-bones, some ground beef.
Nice.
I think you'll really enjoy. I think it's about $150 worth of their stuff from the website.
Awesome.
Our freezer's full of it. I don't know that I'll ever buy anything other than that anymore.
Yeah, it's super good.
Same with all of our friends around us. And what's cool about these guys is they very much have the mentality that you guys have, where they're like doing this regenerative situation and trying to figure out like how do we make the land work for us and give back to it. So not only are they raising this beef, I think I don't know what generation they've been around, their family's been around for a long time, but they built their herd with the genetics that they prefer. And they've decided in the last year or two that they're doing spirits as well. So the grains that they're raising, they've taken one of their old barns and they've got a still in there now. They've got some whiskey sitting in barrels right now. These kinds of things. It's not far from here. So we're going to end up seeing these guys in a couple of weeks and doing a podcast with them as well. But
I'm looking forward to that one.
Great dudes.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Wait, are we going on location for that one?
Well, we'll either go there or they'll come here, one of the two.
Okay, well, I just didn't know because I kind of want to see their
Yeah, no, we
spirits.
definitely
I say
want
bring
to.
extra batteries.
Yeah, yeah, right, yeah.
You're going to be there a while.
Yeah. I'm just not sure that they're quite ready to unveil the place yet.
Oh,
but
okay.
I think they're getting there. So they raise their own beef. They work with a local pork producer as well. So they're selling pork on their website, and then they have honey also. That's from their place. So just good dudes. They're on social media, Upstream Farms, upstreamfarms.com. That's where you can order from them. The prices are phenomenal. When we go and we compare it to what we buy at the grocery store, it's absolutely ridiculous in the price difference. And then the quality is like...
I would say that's going to be your biggest difference because we haven't... Well, I think we bought some a year ago. We were maybe it was 2 years ago. We were a little short on beef, and we had needed some to get us by until the cow got harvested. And
we've had other beef, but from not just the grocery store, from I don't know,
from a few different places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
man. Yeah. I think
these
you
guys
will
are
enjoy
they're
it.
they're raising these animals obviously out in the field. They're feeding them hay, so on and so forth. They finish them on grain, which is kind of a traditional Nebraska thing. Yeah. It just makes the flavor phenomenal. And I think this fall is when they're going to have their spirits ready, so that'll be on the website.
Awesome.
We'll get some of that as well. Get some out to you guys because it's probably going to be pretty awesome.
There we go.
Yeah.
Well, and just to reference the grain, I think the grain on cattle works very better. Or what is the word I'm looking for?
I like
better
that.
It's more effective.
Better.
Better
better.
effect.
I like it.
Yeah. I picked up
Much
on
gooder,
that.
right?
Yeah.
Much gooder. Yeah.
Yep.
That's a good one too.
I picked up on that earlier when you were talking about like what you guys are feeding your animals and how that works. It seems like it's a different.
I think it's very different because of lambs. One, this is the way it is. They're a very different meat.
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah, for sure. And you guys probably have a lot of corn and beans and stuff like that around you as well. But we're
None.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Okay.
No. So where we're at, it's
All grass.
the Ozark Hills Mountains.
Okay.
Whatever we call it. So we have
mostly
grass and that's
grasses.
about it.
Okay.
There's some bottom fields that might have corn in them,
Okay.
but that's it.
So we're in corn country, obviously here.
yeah.
I mean, you guys probably saw a lot of cornfields coming through.
Yeah. I mean, a couple.
Yeah,
That's what those are?
yeah. That's what that tall stuff.
Back
is.
to the corn.
Oh yeah.
So obviously, regionally, you're going to get different flavors, different spins on meat and vegetables and so on and so forth. But that's our thing here. So definitely excited to have you guys try that. These guys, they're trying to be people's personal farmers. So they want them to connect with them, buy their beef from them, buy their pork from them, honey, whatever else, their drinks that are coming up. So little gift to you guys that'll be heading your way. So that'll be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Good dudes, man.
awesome.
I'm so excited
Jason's got competition.
to work with them.
There we go.
Yeah.
Only makes you better.
When you try it, you might talk to your neighbor and be like,
I'm
dude,
going to tell him, hey, you got to come over.
Up your game.
We're do. We'll cook one of each.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
A
two.
blind
That way
taste
it's-
test.
Well, that's to say we'll have to do
No.
something to.
I'll do the eating contest.
Yeah, I would say I'll
yeah.
You're going to lose,
figure something
Andy.
out.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm kidding.
So last thing, and this is probably more for us because you guys got to get on the road, but here on this table, one of my good buddies built this table, so you can see it's kind of pretty cool setup.
Yeah.
Charred Chisel is a company online. You guys ever seen them?
We got a flag for
They
them.
did some stuff
Oh,
with you.
good.
Okay, yep.
Good.
So they built this flag.
Yep.
So we decided we wanted to build this flag into this table. So
Yeah.
it seemed kind of cool.
I said I love the idea.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
me thinking, honestly.
Right. So, but what's even cooler is you hit this.
Speakeasy.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I need one of those.
That is really cool.
So down in here, this is our little speakeasy. So we've got a couple of drinks from Cooper's Chase here in Nebraska. Andy, once
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
Where are they from?
West Point?
West Point. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says it right here.
Yeah,
I know.
and-
Oh, yeah,
I
it does,
just,
doesn't
I
it?
just wanted to throw it that way.
And yeah, because I trip up on that all the time. But and it's the same thing that we're talking about with Joe and Matt. The water's taken out of the North Elkhorn River, and the grains are taken from local elevators out of Beamer and West Point, Nebraska. So pretty cool that it's all localized.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so great folks
Oh,
there.
West Point. West Paint.
West Point.
West Point.
Point.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Doug, who owns the company, and he does most of the work also. I mean, just
Yeah.
like we talked to any of these small business owners, I mean, he's there. He's the one grinding it out. He's the one,
Bottling it.
him and his family, putting
Yep.
the lids on and sealing the things and all that. Local grains, great stuff.
Yep.
So traditionally, we take a little taste.
Well, yeah, a little taste every time.
Yeah,
a little
Well, you
cheers,
and Andy can.
right?
Do you guys? You could, if you want, a little.
I say I know
Yeah,
Chrissy
well,
will.
We got
Yeah.
little ones too for you guys here.
Somebody's gonna be
you know?
responsible adult and drive.
There we
You
go.
gotta drive
Do you like bourbon or vodka?
vodka.
Vodka? Okay. Here, give me one of
Okay, I
those
can
and-
do that.
and this guy
Give
here.
her a
Okay.
shot.
There we go.
I'm
Cool
gonna
little copper
pass
glass
today.
that we got.
Yeah.
That is neat.
Yep. Let me have that one right there because that one's.
You love that.
There we
this
go.
is my one
This
right
is
here.
your go-to.
I love the.
That's neat.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna
Where'd you get the
I'm gonna
copper-
plagiarize this
copper
table
cup from?
idea.
Yeah, this
No,
table's great.
yeah, I
dude.
need this built in.
The
So we need that.
We're
deal.
about to put it into the kitchen table.
Tell the
There you
kids
go.
I said I
there,
was
they'll
going to
mess it
pass,
up.
Andy.
oh
So
well,
now you have to take the vodka.
I'm an army engineer.
okay, I can do it.
I don't need an
No,
instruction.
I asked where they got this from.
Oh,
Handle
that-
bend
Oh.
out of the O'Neill guys.
So that's the copper cups
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
made by Handlebend, also a Nebraska
They're on the
company.
website, ain't they?
They're not on our website. No,
I like that.
I could have swore I saw them on there.
Handlebend. Yeah, no. We've done a fair amount of stuff with them,
Yeah.
and they're great dudes. We're gonna have a podcast with them here before long too. They make
Good.
super cool products, and again, it's all just handmade stuff. I mean, these guys are just
Yep.
grinding it out with their team.
And they took
At
an
their farm.
old building, Main Street of O'Neill, Nebraska, and turned it back into something. It's their shop,
Right.
Their
Getting
manufacturing.
back to the community. So,
Well, I'll cheers you.
all right, cool.
All
Let's
right,
have a
cheers.
little
Tink.
something here. Cheers to you guys. All right.
Cheers.
Short
Let me
arms.
try- Let me try this right here. Oh, that bourbon's good, man.
We'll throw up on the mic.
That is pretty smooth.
What do you think, Chrissy?
That's good.
You like?
It is good vodka, and I think the vodka is their biggest seller.
I'm
Is
sure.
it?
Yeah, it's probably the most
Okay.
popular.
Yeah.
Well, this was fun. Thanks for driving out here, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was actually a really good trip.
Anything that that you guys would like to talk about, or you wish we
No.
asked, or anything like that?
No.
No?
Check us
Covered
out
it
on
all?
YouTube.
Yeah.
Learn more about farming.
YouTube for
Learn-
sure.
There we go.
Yep.
Yeah,
Freedom
learn more
Farms.
about
Love
it.
it.
We try to keep it family friendly.
It
so.
is family friendly.
Okay.
There's a few days it gets out of hand, but we had it.
I'm taking a selfie right
Yep.
now, so
There
Oh
you
wait,
go.
Andy's not in.
No,
I
that's
can't
all
get
right.
him. I can't get him in there too. All right, cool. So we got that. Again, really appreciate you guys coming up. I know it was a hike for you.
Yeah,
But it's good to meet you face to face.
I know, right?
Yeah.
We've talked on the phone
For
a lot.
A couple of years now.
Yeah, and over email.
Yep.
I always feel so much better about people when I get a chance to
Yeah.
chat with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and well, it's different. Just technology's good, but
Yeah.
doesn't.
right.
I don't think it can replace a actual
Face to face.
physical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Contact.
You can't beat it. Yep. Yep. For sure.
Agree.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Batteries didn't die, so we're good.
Nope,
We're good.
Nope. I think we're right
I still
on
see
its
red lights, so we must be all right.
on its last legs.
Okay.
So
All right, let's hit the Eric Brigitte then.
this outro music. You
Alrighty.
good?
Later,
Peace.
folks.
All right.
Have a good one.